forward, left foot back. Slightly longer than a walking stride, feet are hip distance apart, parallel the outside edges, especially the back foot. Make sure you look down, the back heel is in line with the pinky toe. This is going to square your hips up to start. Hands go to measuring sticks. We're going to take one large decompression breath in this position before we hinge into the woodpecker. From here, weights 50-50, we're going to go into an 80-20. Arms go out off the line of the chest in a sphere of tension. And we're going to rotate that left hip towards the right knee. Right now we're just doing static holds. I really want you to get comfortable in these positions before the next round when we start making it dynamic. Don't forget about the breathe in this position. We're going to breathe 3 breaths, front, sides, and back on the inhale. When we exhale, we're going to maintain that expansion and keep a narrow waist. Arms come back to center. From here, we're going to transition into a lunge decompression position. We're going to reestablish the scissor anchor. Front heel pulls back, back toes pull forward. And we're going to transition into an archer. So the fingertips are going to splay out. Left thumb to the right palm. And this movement is going to be initiated from the left hip. So when we're doing the woodpecker rotation, we were closing the hips. This time we're going to open the hips. So from the left hip is going to open as we trace the left thumb across the arm, chest, and we're going to pull and lead with this elbow right here, feeling the lat engagement. We're going to hold this position for 3 breaths, focusing on expansion between the shoulder blades, and then when we exhale, we're always maintaining that expansion, and we're trying to maintain a narrow waist. Trace back, lead with the hips, step the left foot forward, and we're going to switch sides and balance you out. So left foot forward, right foot back. Hands go to measuring sticks. Before any hinge position, I like to take one decompression breath to set your torso up for success before we get into that hinge. From there, weights 50-50, go right into a woodpecker 80-20. And then from there, the right hip towards the left knee in a woodpecker rotation. Weight right now is 80-20. Let's try to go maybe 90-10. Get more weight through that front 3 points of contact. Imagine pushing the heel away from you in that front foot. And that back heel is off the ground 2 to 3 inches. Bring the hips back to center. Bring the torso back. Transition into an archer, fingertips splayed. And we lead with the hips. The right hip opens up as we trace across the left arm, across the chest, leading with the elbow pulling nice and wide. Breathing space between the shoulder blades, keeping the clavicles wide. Bring that back to center. Get your balance for a second. Shake that off, and we're going to go into a lateral hinge. So bring the feet nice and wide, maybe 2 times shoulder distance apart. Right now, I want you to parallel the inside edges, find your 3 points of contact, and before you begin, you're going to pull the base of the skull as far away from the sit bone as possible. Stand as tall as you can. I want this in every position before you start. Hands go to measuring sticks, 1 decompression breath, and our lateral hinge is going to go to the right. So what I want you to do is bring the right hand into the right hip crease right here. The left arm is going to be in a long wing position, and from this position, you're going to push the right hip back as you scoop the left arm forward. Again, we're initiating this rotation at the hips. You'll notice that both their right knees unlock a little bit more, and their left knee straightens, not all the way, it's still unlocked and active, but it's a little bit more straight than the right side. And you're pushing that right heel firmly into the ground, pushing that right hip backing up, and pulling that left heel towards the right heel. Come back to center, bring your arms out in the sphere of tension, and then switch with the left hand into the left hip crease, the right arm nice and long. These guys already know what to do. They're going into position, and you're holding this. Again, we're trying to focus on rotational strength in this workout. So making sure each movement that we do is focused on rotating from the hips. Now I want you to stay in the hinge position and bring your left hand in front with your right hand to meet in a sphere of tension. We're going to transition now into a founder, so balance your weight out, and we're going to go into a forward fold. So hips go back, arms reach forward until the hands arrive in half sphere of tension on the ground. Now we have a tug of war taking place. The hips are going back and up, and the arms are reaching forward, and there's tension being held in the back of the hamstrings. And with our breath, we're breathing space between the shoulder blades towards the ceiling. And when we exhale, breathing that abdomen away from the ground. Back of the neck is nice and long. We're looking through our legs. From here, you're going to transition into a push-up position. So inch your fingertips forward. Bring yourself into a push-up position. Slow and controlled, lower yourself down to the ground. Use as much muscle as possible when you're lowering yourself down into a safe manner. Set up in an 8-point plank. So elbows slightly in front of and slightly wider than the shoulders. I want your knees about hip distance apart and your feet slightly wider than that. Tuck your toes underneath, stretch your arches. Make sure the outer edges of your feet are parallel. And to start, I want you to pull the base of the skull as far away again from the sit bone as possible. And then pull the forehead, throat, and nose away from the ground. Press the elbows firmly into the ground. And this is just your starting position. It probably is already making you shake, and that's normal. Now, in a wave-like motion, breathe the back of the body away from the ground and towards the ceiling until the hips want to float off the ground. If you're feeling strong enough, bring those hips off the ground. And they're going to be slightly lower than the shoulders. Now, if this is challenging enough, I want you to stay here. But we're going to add an element. We're going to do a gorilla lift with the right arm. We're going to supinate that, bring that up, hold for 1-2 seconds, back down. Take one breath between the shoulder blades. Then we're going to supinate the left palm, bring that up, and hold. Back down. We're challenging this lateral chain in the body. One more time on each side. Right arm up. Good. Back down. One breath between. Left arm up. Hold. Try not to shift the weight. Stay stable as you can. Back down. Bring yourself slowly controlled out of this position, just like you got into it. Now back into a push-up position, and we're going to go back into a forward fold. Nice push-up position. Widen your legs. Transition, hips going back, arms reaching forward. Let's just hold here for 2 breaths. I'm not going to hold it for a super long time. Now we're going to go into a windmill, just a static hold. So arms slide in line with the chest. Hips are slightly lower than the shoulders, back of the neck is long. From here, right thumb to the left palm. We're going to initiate the rotation. Again, we're going to rotate 2, using the right hip back and the left hip towards the right knee. You can either stay at your armpit, or like Gail and Eric are doing, fully extended, and hold this position and breathe space between the shoulder blades. Reach your fingertips up a little bit more, trace back down. Recenter yourself, keep yourself nice and stable, and now we're going to do the left side. So trace, using the left arm, leading, hips initiate the rotation, hold this position. I want you to get comfortable in this position because the next round, we're going to do it in dynamic fashion. Trace back down. Bring your hands to your shins to come out of the windmill. Slide your hands up until they're above your knees. Reestablish a quick founder for 1 breath. Nice and stable. Good. Bring the hips forward. Shake it off. We're going to go a little bit faster this time. We're going to repeat that sequence, but this time with dynamic work. So right foot forward, left foot back. By now you already know how to go into a woodpecker, so just go into that 80-20 position. Arms go out. Hips reach back. We're going to do 10 rotations to the right. Left hip towards right knee. Do this at your own pace. If your form's off, make sure you slow down and don't rush things. Every time they're initiating the rotation, they're rotating from the hips. And you're noticing that the shoulders and the head and neck follow. So it's not the opposite way around. Do about 2 more repetitions. Bring yourself back to center. After this one, come up into a lunge decompression position. Establish an anchor, splay the fingertips. Let's do 5 archers. Tracing across, leading with the hips. Nice. You can see they can do it at a semi-fast pace. But for you guys at home, if this is uncomfortable, go slower with it. And once you've done the 5th one, bring yourself back to center. And then we're going to switch sides and repeat. Left foot forward, right foot back. Go into that woodpecker position, 80-20. Make sure your front 3 points of contact are firmly pressing into the ground. Fingertips and thumbs are pressing into one another, and palms are pulling away. 10 rotations to the right. Right hip towards the left knee. Good. When you're initiating that rotation, imagine that that right hip is going towards the left knee. You want to feel that sensation along the left glute. You also might feel that the low back is starting to fatigue, and that's normal too. Also, the left hamstring. In this position, it's easy to lose your front 3 points of contact. Make sure you press the ball joint the big toe, pinky toe, and heel into the ground. And the back 2 points of contact are also firmly firmly pressing into the ground. If you've already done your 10, back to center, stand up, splay the fingertips, establish that scissor, right heel, front heel pulls back, back toes pull forward, doing 5 archers. Leading with the hips, tracing across, and with that pull of the elbow, we're getting a lot of lat, pull-up muscle engagement in this position. Good. And then the last one, bring it back, square the hips, shake off any tension you have, and then get set up for a lateral hinge. Again, nice and wide. Make sure the inside edges are parallel. You guys should be working right now. These guys are working pretty hard. So fatigue, that's normal. One decompression breath before we go into this hinge. Arms can be either in measuring sticks or long wing. But before you go into this position, I want you to do right arm or the right hand into the right hip crease. Left arm stays in that long wing and scoops forward with every hinge. You're going to do 10 of these, guys, so that's 1. Let's do 9 more. Rotating that hip towards that right knee, initiating the movement from the hips. That's what this workout is about. Always initiate a rotation from the hips and having the shoulders follow. You're noticing that they're leading with their hips pulling back. That right hip is pulling back, that left hip is pulling towards the knee, and they're still maintaining the anchor. Once you've done your 10, back to center. Let's do 1 founder in the middle. Square everything up for a second. Now bring the left hand into the left hip crease, the right arm, nice and long wing, and let's do 10 lateral hinges. Good. Try not to roll out on your arches on this position. Maintain your ball joint, your big toe, each foot into the ground. And when you press, you should be feeling length created in this adductor, the inner thigh. And the left side, he's going to be feeling it on the outer, that IT band. 2 more repetitions. Bring yourself back to a founder, right into a forward fold. Just give you guys some time to rest. Back of the neck is nice and long. We're going to hang out here for a minute. We really want to lengthen the hamstrings under tension in this position. Breathe space and width across the shoulder blades. Breathing that rib cage into the ceiling, creating length and space in this position. Fingertips are in half sphere tension. There's that tug of war taking place, hips going back, fingertips reaching forward. Now bring yourself into that push-up position. Slow and controlled. Lower yourself down and set up for your last 8-point plank. Again, elbows slightly in front of, slightly wider than the shoulders. Knees, hip distance, feet slightly wider. Press your elbows firmly into the ground. Pull the forehead, throat, and nose away from the ground. Look down between your forearms and start to breathe the body away from the ground in a wave-like motion. You're breathing space. Don't rush this. Breathe slow, controlled, deliberate. And until this wave arrives at your hips. And once your hips float off the ground, if you're feeling strong enough, again, if you're not staying in this position, we're going to do gorilla lift, starting with the right arm. Right arm goes up. Hold this for 5 seconds. That's about 1 breath. Arm comes back down. Before you go to the other side, try not to shift the weight. Try to stay as square as possible. Left arm goes up. Hold that position. Back down. Right arm up. Hold that position, and you only have to go as high as your shoulders. Right arm down. And then left arm goes up. Hold that position. Breathe. Arm comes back down. Let's take 1 breath in this position, creating space between the shoulder blades. Slow and controlled, bring yourself back down. All right, we're going to go into a forward fold. We're almost done, guys. You guys are doing great. We're almost there. Bring your feet nice and wide. Push those hips back. Reach the arms forward. Look between your legs. Keep the back of the neck nice and long. Let's go into a windmill. So we're going to do 3 rotations per side, and that's it. But they're going to be slow and controlled, not fast. So starting with the right side, trace up, rotating with the hips first, and then back down. Trace up again, and at the top of the position, I want you to breathe space between the shoulder blades, nice and wide. You can either look down or look up at your arm, your choice. 1 more, trace back down. Push your hips back a little bit further, square yourself in this position, and let's finish off with the left side. Left arm traces up, leading with the elbow. Right hip is rotating towards the left knee. Keeping space again between the shoulder blades and space across the clavicles. The last one, hold that for one breath. Really focus on pushing the hips back. Really focus on breathing big. Trace back down. Slide your hands to your shins, arms extended. Slide them up to kneecap height. Bring your arms out for one last founder. Let's square everything up. Breathe big, breathe wide, breathe tall. And bring your hips forward, your arms back. Stand tall. I hope you feel well. Thank you.